Hello and welcome to Casual Buddhism. We're here today with two very well-known scholars who have written about women in Buddhism from very different perspectives. But of course, first I want to introduce Venerable Dhammananda, the first fully ordained Theravada Bhikkhuni in Thailand, and Diana Paul, who was professor at Stanford University in religious studies. So because of the special nature of the conversation, I would just like the two of you to continue talking.
All right. Why don't you start and tell me some more about your own journey into Buddhism? I was especially interested in how your mother became a Buddhist nun, and your close relationship was inspired partly by her having that journey. So I thought that maybe you could start with something about that.
You know, Diana, it's different from United States. We live in Thailand, which is very much a Buddhist country. 95% of the population are Buddhist, you know. So whether you know anything about Buddhism, you are Buddhist. Like that, you know, I grew up in that kind of situation, but particularly because my mother was more religiously inclined. And when she started to be ordained herself, I was only 10, Diana. I was only 10. So literally I grew up in a kind of monastic setting. I grew up with all these nuns, you know, and I learned all the chanting from them. And I myself was ordained when I was 12. You know, I took early ordination for 47 days, you know, during the summer vacation. So I kind of, I was accustomed to monastic way of life, so to say. Yeah, but I did not want to be ordained like my mother, not until much later in my life. And it so happened that my mother, I was her only child. Everyone was expecting me to be ordained. But Diana, we could not lead our life simply because other people dictate you to be, you know. So I really persisted until the time when I was all the time involved in this academic research and studying about bhikkhunis and all that, you know, but I was not willing to commit. Monastic life is a 100% commitment, you know. So I was married. I had 3 children. So I waited until my youngest one was 24. I think it's very important as a mother, you don't leave them halfway, you know, that will be very, irresponsible on my part, you know, because I committed myself in married life and I need to complete that part, you know. Then it is something like, you know, in Christianity, Diana, they would call a received call from God. I had that experience, you know. I was at the same time teaching at the university and also doing this television program. And, you know, I was accustomed to put on makeup, you know, do the hair, do the face and all that. And one day when I was putting on makeup, there was this inner voice, a kind of inner voice questioning me. How long do I have to do this? Very strange. It's in English, you know, this sentence comes in English. How long do I have to do this? It was really, I was stunned, you know, with this question. Indeed, it is a much bigger question than what it sounds, you know. It means, how long am I going to continue in this lay life, in this worldly life, so to say? So that was a time when I really started to think about ordination very, very truthfully, you know, whether I really can commit, whether I am willing, I must like it, you know. So the year 2000, it was like, I want to mark a line in my river of life, so to say. I went to Taiwan to receive Bodhisattva's precept. So this is Mahayana, you know, because in Theravada Buddhism, they don't have this. I wanted to be committed. I wanted to make sure that, you know, ordained life is very difficult. It's going to be difficult. If I take this step forward as Bodhisattva, can I take it? I went through this ransiang, you know, burning my arms also, just to see how committed I was. It was kind of self-testing, to go through this passage. And once when I was ordained, I left university towards the end of 2000, and I was ordained early 2001. And since then, there was no turning back, and to realize that I was going to be the first one in Theravada, because my mother was ordained in Taiwan. At the time when she was fully ordained, 1971, there was not yet Theravada Buddhism. So she came back, and they just regarded her as Mahayana.
Yes, yes.
Which is good, safe for her, safe for her. It's not getting too close for comfort, so to say.
Now, when your mother became a nun, and she left for Taiwan and got ordained, you were only 12 then, is that correct?
No. When I use the word ordained, that was when she shaved the head. She shaved her head when I was about 10, and then much later, 15 years, she had to wait before she get the news that she could actually be ordained. 1971 was the time when she traveled to Taiwan and received Mahayana ordination.
So she waited until you were an adult too, before she received ordination in Taiwan.
Because she did not have information. It was because I came to McMaster, and I knew Professor Ran Yun Hua. He was my guide, my how to say, supervisor, my supervisor. Thank you. I have my assistant here giving me English word, my supervisor. And he was the one who gave us information that yes, you can go to Taiwan and receive ordination. So that was how my mother received her ordination.
The reason why I'm interested in this too is that when I wrote that book on women in Buddhism, I mentioned this to Cindy. This was a very unusual little sutra that I found almost by accident. It's only available in Chinese. And it was about why women who are mothers cannot become enlightened. And one of the reasons given was because to be a really good mother, you can never forget about your child. And so in the sutra, the woman's child dies when the child was about 4. I think it was a little boy. And so she lives her whole life though thinking about when it was his birthday and when he would have been married and she would have been a grandmother. And the implication was that you could not let go of your desire to attachment. And so you could not become enlightened until the next lifetime. So I was thinking, it's wonderful to see another interpretation of family and the mother's role, that you can fulfill the mother's role. And then as your children move on, then you have the independence to follow your spiritual path.
Yes, in Theravada, in our text, in our Vinaya, we do have a case, one particular case of a mother who could not give up the clinging to her son. And the son became a monk, and the son was enlightened. The son was enlightened, and the son knew of the clinging of the mother. So, when they met, he said something kind of harsh words to her, so that it's kind of, she took back, all this time I was thinking about him. I cared for him so much, but he didn't care for me, Then she seriously practiced, and she was enlightened. This is in Theravada text.
Yes, well, I mean, one of the reasons that that little sutra was sort of a surprise to me is because, as you know, the Buddha went back and taught his mother the Dharma. And so, Maya became enlightened and she became this too. Now, of course, her children, right, her son had become an adult. So, and the social pressures and the societal pressures to be a mother would make it very difficult to commit to a life of the nun without having first fulfilled your role as a mother if you're married and have children.
Yes.
So
like Yasodhara also, Yasodhara, the Buddha's wife, she also became enlightened.
Yes.
So there are so many women who had children and became enlightened.
Yes. And so as Cindy was saying, Cindy and I are both novelists, and I have threaded some themes of Buddhism into the story about a woman who is coming from a dysfunctional family. She doesn't have a good relationship with her mother, especially. And so she wants to be a different kind of mother to her own daughter. And that's the story. How does she choose? Her parents are dying, and she needs to deal with them at the same time that her daughter needs her. And so in one scene, I do quote from the Tibetan Book of the Dead and letting go as a kind of a symbolism of that.
Yes.
A good mother at some point does have to let go.
Diana, can you mention the title of your book?
Oh, yes, it's Things Unsaid. And the Things Unsaid part comes from a quote also in Buddhist literature, but you see that like deeds that can't be undone, that concept of the consequences for your action. And that's where I got the title, Things Unsaid. And so it ties in first the Roman Catholicism and the religious attitudes towards family, and then Buddhism. And she gets comfort actually from both.
Very good, very good. Diana, I purposely let you see the background. I have
Yes.
green Tara.
Yes.
I have green Tara.
A beautiful mandala of green Tara. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I have on the back, that's Bodhidharma. That,
Yes, yes,
with the-
I recognize.
did you
Yes.
recognize? It's kind of an unusual presentation.
Very unusual.
Bodhidharma, the founder of
Very
that.
unusual.
Yes.
Yes.
I have other Buddhist ones, but you can't see them from here. You might be able to see the little shrine that's Kshitigarbha, the medicine Buddha. And you can see
Yes.
the little gold doors
Yes,
open
yes,
on the
yes.
mantle. That's
Yeah.
an old Chinese traveling altar. So that when you traveled on a trip and you're on this trip and you want to make sure you're in good health, then the monks and the nuns would carry this little shrine with them. It was
I
portable.
see, I see.
So
very
I've been to
good.
Thailand. I loved Thailand. It was a long time ago, but I enjoyed it very much. Been to Taiwan also and to Tibet. I love traveling to Buddhist countries. The last one was Cambodia and Vietnam
Ah,
1.5 years ago to
yes.
see, Angkor Wat and Angkor Thom. So it's a beautiful part of the world. That's
Yeah.
definitely.
Yes, Diana, do you still teach? Do they invite you to teach?
No, I was telling Cindy, I meditate every day.
Oh,
And
good.
I think of myself, I'm an artist too. So my art is
Wonderful.
inspired by Buddhism. And I'll read sometimes some old Buddhist materials I have just out of
Yes.
curiosity, and I'll get correspondence still from people who are studying and researching. But I've actually moved on more to novels. I'm very intrigued
yes,
with
yes.
writing and art. And what do you like to do in terms of Buddhist art, or in terms of visiting the temples, and what you are aesthetically or sensually or visibly attracted
I also do, very interesting. Very few people would believe this. I do crochet.
Oh, wonderful. You
I
do
do crochet in
textile
between,
art.
in between, and I do weaving. I do weaving. Yes.
Wonderful. I'm
Yes.
trying to teach myself how to weave. I
Yes.
really love the feeling of weaving.
No, I have to send photos. Cindy will help me. I can send it to Cindy, and Cindy can, or at least Cindy can give me the what you call the connection to Diana. I can send her the photo of my weaving. I do this rack weaving. What you call it, rack.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
because we introduce this idea of recycle. So
Yeah.
I have to start myself to show people how to do it, But I do love doing it myself. And now it is not for sale, but when people make donation to the temple, big donors, I give this as a gift to them, and they are so very happy.
Oh,
So
I think
very
it's
happy.
wonderful. It's a type
Yeah.
of meditation. Anything you do with your hands, cooking or gardening or weaving or sewing.
Yes.
And almost all the people that I had worked with that were Buddhist, they all did something, calligraphy or clay,
Yes.
It's just another expression
Yes,
of your
I
own.
do clay also. I do clay also. And you know, when I was a lay person, I had this long nail, you know, I never touched soil because it will ruin my nails, you know. But once when you're ordained, then I can really handle clay properly. And what I did, you know, Diana, I did the sculpture of the Arahat Theres.
Oh, wow. That, when I was teaching at Stanford, I taught a course that was Introduction to Buddhism. And instead of writing a paper for their final project, they had to do an art project. So they could weave something or sew something or paint something or do ceramic.
Yes.
And it was wonderful to see how they interpreted. And one did a beautiful embroidery. I kept it for a long time of a Theravada monk. And she was inspired by this precious little jade sculpture at the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco. She took photographs of it, and then she did this embroidery. I had it hung up for a long time, but then it kind of disintegrated. The threads didn't stand up. They might have been synthetic threads. They didn't stand up to the
Yeah.
test of time. But yes, I think all of those fine arts and creative arts really feed the soul.
Yeah, and you know, as we are growing old, they said our brain cell can still grow, but you have to keep doing something new. You know, the brain does not stop there. Some of them become dull, and some of them become, how to say, dried up. You know, my brain cell is drying up, and I realized that. So I need to do something new that I'm not forcing myself. I like it. I like it. So I do different things, and I learn to do one step. Not just this crochet. It's not a straight crochet. Now I crochet flower. You know, so you have this 3 dimension.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you said you
I must show
recycle.
you.
How do you recycle? I mean, recycling, of course, is something that, in a way, I always think of Buddhists as the first recycled,
Yes.
recycling
Yes.
value system, because even the
Yes.
body, right, with rebirth, it's a
Yes.
recycling of
Yes.
sorts. So
Yes.
what do you recycle in your crochet and your fiber art?
These rags came from old clothing that people give us, you know, and when it is too old to sell, usually we do the second-hand selling, you know, how when it is too old, then we cut it to strips and then I weave. But for crochet, people gave us the leftover wool, yarn, you know, so I used from that.
Oh, that's wonderful. The reason why I asked, I know some people who they have like animals, cats and dogs, friends, pets, and when they clip them, they give them their hair, the fur, and they weave the fur in among the threads, and they make these gorgeous tapestries.
Yes,
and it's just recycled animal fur that would be thrown away. And there's a famous African artist who uses the little flip tops from a can that you throw away.
Yes.
And he makes textiles, and he takes threads and he loops them through these little thrown out aluminum can tops.
Yeah. Oh, that gave me another idea. Wonderful. Yes, that's what we try to do. That's what we try to do, and that's what we try to tell people, that even now they have this, little small pieces of plastic bags, that the one that you throw away, you know, you cannot sell. Now we are collecting them also. And there is this plant that take this and they make fuel. Yes, out of these small plastics that we usually throw away.
Actually, I have a friend who's doing something like that. She's making tote bags. The tote bags are just out of people's thrown out discarded bags that you get in grocery stores, and she makes them into strips, and she makes these beautiful recycled tote bags that she sells. Whole Foods sells some of them, which is a grocery store around here. And I thought, what a creative way. It's just something people throw away, and you can make some beautiful artwork out of somebody's trash.
Yes. So that's what we are trying to do also. But art itself, it is always uplifting, you know. When you create something, you know, the mind is so focused. Yes, it is meditative.
Is very meditative.
meditative at the samatha level, very meditative. And sometimes, I see some old people, they're just sitting there and they're crying, weeping. I ask them why. They say they are so sad, they are so lonely. But once when you start doing something like this, your mind is so much in the work, and then the work can go to the temple, and then the local people, they believe, oh, this is merit making. That is uplifting them.
Oh, sure. Now, does your temple do any outreach programs with the community of senior citizens, older people, or people in between, children, young adults? Do you have any kind of programs for them? I noticed you had workshops.
Yes, we do. We try to introduce to them this, how to say, engage Buddhist idea. So during COVID, the first time when we actually had COVID 2 years ago, it was locked down, and it was really difficult for us, particularly for those who they get wages day-to-day basis. They really have difficulties. We were one of the very early temples that opened the gate, and we offer food ration for each week. We continued, Diana, we continued for 10 weeks. 10 weeks, really reach out to around this area. We started small, 40 families. Then every week it increased to 50 to 100, 150 to 200, and people really benefit. We don't have to go and ask people to recognize Bhikkhunis, but the Bhikkhunis themselves, what do we do?
Yeah.
The
local communities around here, churches and some of the Buddhist organizations are doing the same thing. I think it's really important. And some of them are offering, well, this was before the lockdown because I took one of them, but before the lockdown, they had this wonderful course, you could call it, but you didn't have to go every day or every week, on sand mandalas and sand paintings. And one of them was a Japanese artist, secular lay artist. And the other organization that sponsored him was a local Buddhist temple, and they had it at the Monterey Museum of Art, and it was packed. Everybody wanted to learn how to do sand painting. So I could see, that's especially good, as you said, for old people who, maybe feel lonely and they don't have any outreach.
True.
Certainly true, Venerable. You also have the prison program that does outreach to the women.
We also visit prison.
Yeah.
You teach meditation.
Oh, and you teach meditation in the prison? Wonderful.
Yes, it was kind of short program. They don't have good good concentration. So we need to organize so that we always have their interest with us.
Yeah. The prisons, they need art workshops. They need, you were talking about old people just kind of sitting and feeling like there's no meaning in their lives. People in prison too. I did this gang task force one time here in the community. I was shocked at the level of inhumanity in the jail where they book people before they go on trial. Horrified. I felt like it was Abu Ghraib or something, out in Siberia. I'd never seen anything like that. And that's in our county. In our county, I'm sure most people don't even know it exists. Yeah. So I'm very happy to hear that you've got that outreach program. I hope that jail gets something. I mean, it was a nightmare. It really was a nightmare. That.
So did you want to speak more, or is it all right?
Cindy, I just wanted particularly to thank you for connecting us. Very important. This is very important connection for me, because I never thought I would see Diana Paul in life.
And I was so fascinated. I didn't know about your work, and I was fascinated to read about how many books, over 100 books you've written. And that you were in Canada about the same time that we were in Canada. Paths never crossed, or at any of the international conferences that I used to go to.
Yes.
So,
Well,
very happy to have met you.
Excuse me. thank you both. It's just an honor to hear you share today, and I'm happy to have brought you together.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Casual Buddhism. And we will be here next week. We'll have the deputy editor of Lion's Roar magazine, and she will be asking Venerable a couple of questions that will interest her readers, excuse me. So thank you very much. And I look forward to seeing you again. So.